What I mean is the YouTubers that win the most on YouTube. Number one, the friends I have. My friend who makes $60 million a year plus, he has his channels fully automated. Yes, he's the one in front of the camera, but he has his channels automated. He's not doing the editing. He's not doing any of that stuff.
Coffee should have jumped in and asked for a name. He also could have said, this example is not only anecdotal evidence fallacy, but this creator doesn't adhere to the YTA method at all. If he's in front of the camera, then that does not apply the YTA method model. He's also the creative behind the channel, directing what happens in the videos. That creativity is the value in the channel, which goes against what is mostly taught in the YTA method. Lastly, he apparently has an editor and a camera crew. You have any idea how much that costs? Let's assume this person is in fact making $60 million a year, which I just do not believe. That's basically PewDiePie and maybe 2 or 3 others. But in order to produce the content that makes you that much money, there has to be so much time that is put into it. You need multiple people working for you. I'd estimate 10 grand to 15 grand at the absolute bare minimum to have that kind of setup. This would have given Coffee a chance to really completely tear down Caleb's position.
Poor people are poor because they, quote, pass over opportunities repeatedly. So you say, I don't tell people, hold on. You say you don't tell people that it's their fault when they don't succeed, but then you call poor people passing over opportunities repeatedly. Poor people are passing over opportunities repeatedly.
I don't tell people in YouTube automation that it's their fault if they don't succeed. I don't tell people that.
You just tell poor people that.
But I will say, no. I say to everyone, if someone is a YTA, I believe they took advantage of the opportunity. It's our job to get them results. But I believe every single person who doesn't get results and they don't have success, I do believe it is 100% their responsibility.
This is where the debate goes off the train tracks and frankly isn't that interesting to me. Caleb shows his youth here by basically saying that Oprah made it into who she is today by this acronym. And then he uses the appeal to authority fallacy by basically declaring that Arnold Schwarzenegger would agree, and then he lists off all of his credentials as if it has anything to do with getting people out of poverty in America. And he throws an attempted subtle ad hominem at Coffee at the end. You might have noticed it. Caleb positions the vague concept of being a big thinker as this like ultimate way of being, which was kind of silly. Coffee's expression mimic, I think, what most of the audience was feeling at that moment.
So I understand where you're coming from, but I guess everyone can't understand greatness. And I've always believed small-minded people will never understand big thinkers.
Okay. All right. Well, I would just like to tell you that that's maybe the worst take on poverty or environmental factors that I've ever heard.
Now we're heading on a tangent.
How many mission trips have you been on, sir?
Caleb, listen to me right now.
Caleb is clearly getting defensive. He always resorts to this virtue signaling position of changing the world or wanting to better help humanity whenever he gets defensive. My issue with Caleb's incessant need to remind the audience of how virtuous he is comes from the fact that his first motive in life is to attain wealth, status, the accolades, and the fame, then to go help the poor. Changing the world or education system is what comes second in his life, not first. He brags in all of his videos about all these connections he has and all the meetings he has, all these lunches with the famous celebrities and big business people. These people have more money than Caleb will ever attain. If Caleb's ultimate goal was actually impacting the world, then he'd be working for a charity. He would be working on some type of product or service that is providing resources to impoverished communities. He'd be meeting with people up in the education system. He'd be discussing this with them all the time. See, the issue is money is not the problem with Caleb. The problem is he doesn't have any solutions. That's the real problem, and that's his youth. If he created actual solutions, he'd find the money in an hour if he does have these connections that he says he does. He's got access to plenty of money. To me, almost every case of someone claiming they want to change the world is just someone who is high on their own ego and ambition and ultimately wants the accolades and fame of changing the world first.
My dad took me on over 54 mission trips when I was younger. Okay. I was in streets with people, little kids who had no pillow to sleep on. They would sleep on the floor. They'd be crying and I'd be holding them in my hands. You know what I'd be thinking every single time I did that? I need to create something that ends suffering for people like this.
On the surface, it sounds admirable, but follow people's actions, not their words. Caleb spends his time trying to build up internet marketing products so he can make a bunch of money. Keep that in mind. He's been on a lot of mission trips, which is clearly cool and admirable. I like that about him. So he clearly cares about helping, but my biggest gripe is most people trying to quote unquote help the poor just do it to receive accolades, especially if it's all over social media. Going to someone sleeping on the floor and hugging them isn't exactly changing the world.
What they don't understand is I will wake up in the middle of the night with tears streaming down my face because of kids that are suicidal and the thought that I'm not there to them yet. I'm fully motivated, not by making money, but by collecting the resources I need to be able to impact those people.
You can tell Caleb is defensive because he's resorting to the diatribe he gives in every interview. He said it enough that it just comes out without any effort. This is like a weird ego trip where he thinks he's going to stop suicide because he went to see them or something. We get it, Caleb. People admire you. But stop with the virtue signaling, please. If you had 100 million more in your bank account right now, are you going to drive to everyone's house who's considering suiciding and basically give them one of your speeches, and then they're all of a sudden not going to commit suicide as if all these underlying problems are just diminished? The next period is a waste of time as they go back and forth about poverty, why Caleb thinks being poor is just simply a few decisions to pass over opportunities. They've been going in like a circular argument the whole time, and Caleb spends 80% of his time pitching the audience on how amazing he is.
I'm not a guru, I'm a visionary, my man.
No.
So for me, I'm not a guru. If you knew the things I were, my goal is not to have viral videos. My goal is not to create some internet marketing product. My goal is to impact all 8 billion people on earth. But all I would put up against you, the amount of people impacted, the amount of money made. But if people don't think I'm good at psychology, rewatch this interview.
Okay. What do you mean good at psychology?
We can continue to the next question.
Caleb makes a claim and Coffeezilla finally presses him on it. You see how bad he looks when you ask to clarify. This is why I think Coffeezilla would have been way better off throughout the interview if he was inquisitive and asked specific questions and forced the answers out of Caleb's mouth. Internet marketers like Caleb don't get put in these positions in interviews, which is why you can catch them off guard really easily and force them to answer such that they're either transparent or it looks like they have something to hide.
Goldie asks, why don't you do the YTA method yourself and earn from it rather than selling a course about it?
I do.
Okay. What channel is it?
I'm not going to tell you my automated channel, but I will tell you my YouTube channel. I just started uploading 3 days ago. I've uploaded 3 brand new videos.
Boom. You can see how easy it is to make a person feel uncomfortable. All you have to do is ask questions where the answer brings out the truth. Always remember, these internet marketers post all of their wins all over social media. Caleb had this 10K sales call day. He talks about all the videos that went viral, but somehow they all seem to shrink up when getting specific about something that could possibly make them look bad, and Caleb is no different. This was another perfect opportunity for Coffeezilla to basically hand Caleb a shovel to dig his grave in. All he had to do was ask, can you tell me why you aren't comfortable sharing the channel name?
So it's youtube.com/Caleb Maddix.
Okay. All right, but
you can see how uncomfortable he is. I would have pressed way harder.
You say that YouTube automation making Reddit videos is the greatest opportunity of our era.
Once again, I really feel like you continue to bring up the Reddit video, and that being your only thing on this entire interview you have to say.
Well, it's just funny that in his own thing where he's talking about like how he made his money, he shows like 7 different channels, and they're all Reddit channels, and we're supposed to just take for granted that, oh, yeah, no, he's got so many other channels that are the real thing. He doesn't rely on Reddit. These are that's just ridiculous. I mean, you can't deny that that's some pretty compelling evidence, right? Like all 7 of the channels that were accidentally shown that he was bragging about were all Reddit videos. You can't deny that's pretty.
He started with Reddit videos. Since then, he started channels with basically no capital up front. And they've gone actually more viral than even the Reddit channels did.
This is another perfect opportunity for Coffeezilla to calm down for a second and ask for any proof.
Don't pretend like you're not trying to deliberately make people think it's live. You are, when it's not. And you said that you don't think that lying while selling is ethical. So how do you square those two?
We don't say that it's live deliberately. We use a live recording, and now it's evergreen. So people watch that live recording. I filmed 3 hours of my life spending time creating an unbelievable masterclass, or webinar that's already impacted millions of people.
Remember how I said earlier that asking Caleb a simple question would come back and bite him? He gets stuck in a trap and has to dance around the truth as best he can. And of course, he reverts back to the idea that he's impacting hundreds of thousands of people on a silly webinar. It's an absolute joke, which is hilarious because people watching webinars aren't being impacted at all. Kind of shows the mindset of someone like this who's kind of been in the spotlight a little bit. It's pretty insane ego.
People to get notified, that way they don't miss it. So if someone wants to watch it tonight or they want to watch it in 15 minutes, we allow them to do it. It's the way we get the most people to watch our webinar. And if people are being impacted by what we're putting out there, why wouldn't we want as many people as possible to see it? Now understand that, because you don't understand the motive behind it is impacting people.
Oh, okay. So this is a little bit different from what you said. You said at first that lying was never justified. Then you said, well, if it makes people pay attention, why wouldn't we do it?
It's not a lie. You asked me why we have it where they can select the time. It's not a lie.
Boom. He set up the trap for Caleb to enter. He entered and gave a perfect response, and now he's got to backtrack.
We're going to get as many people as possible to watch it so that we can impact them. Not a single part of that is a lie.
Every time there's a lie, he always resorts to this idea of impacting people's lives.
And if anyone does want to join YTA, go to learnyta.com/live. If you want to let me know what you thought about this, you can message me.
Don't do it. I don't like people pitching on my show. I don't like people using my platform to pitch on my show.
I look forward to you guys joining this movement and being a part of the mission to change the education system.
Oh my gosh.
And thank you so much for everyone who supports me.
Woo!
You're making a lot of kids.
Dean Graziosi is the walking webinar. Caleb Maddix is the walking sales pitch.